Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. As always, we are broadcasting live from the Manscaped Man Cave. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. I was reading a piece on The Athletic from Derek Bodner and Rich Hoffman, who always do a fantastic job at covering the team. And they had this article out where they asked 10 questions heading into the season after the offseason. And I thought that they were very awesome questions that I would actually like to respond to. So let's just dive into it. Let's talk some Sixers. I honestly feel like the last 72 hours, there has been nothing but dreadful Eagles thoughts coming to me in my mind and coming out of me, whether it's my mouth or my thumbs hitting my iPhone, right? So whether it's here on Sports Talk with Broads or on 97.3 ESPN, in a group chat with my buddies, on the phone with my father, these Philadelphia Eagles words and thoughts, they're driving me crazy. And it feels refreshing to have Sixers here. The only problem is they're so close, yet they're so far away. And here I am begging for some preseason basketball. That's embarrassing. But that's how low the birds really are. I'm ready to give Furkan Korkmaz a standing ovation on Zoom during his press conference, during his media availability, just because I'm excited it's not Doug Peterson, because I'm thrilled it's not Carson Wentz. And you know me, I hate Furkan. And I know everyone's all excited about what he can do this year. I'll tell you what he can do. Sit his ass on the bench when it comes to playoff basketball because he can't get a lick of separation and he can't defend. So don't tell me, oh, look at him in November and January when he drops, 30 points? Whoop-de-damn-do. The kid can't play when you need him to play, which is in postseason basketball, because he's not athletic enough. All right? It's as simple as that. But seriously, I'm stoked to see him at this point because I need something new and fresh in my life. Ready to kick things off? I know I am. Question 1. Will this be 2017 and 2018 all over again? The 17-18 season, that is, to be more specific. If you remember, the starting lineup was Simmons, J.J. Redick, Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and Joel Embiid. Well, right off the bat, I think you have a more accomplished, more veteran in their prime roster all around now than that season. So that alone is already different. Ben and Joel specifically, those two, they're already at different parts of their career. Now, ultimately, we understand that they're not where we want them to be yet, and we are anticipating that that will happen soon so they can elevate their game and they can take this franchise and take a monster step over that first, second round exit type vibe, right? So we are waiting and we're praying that it's coming, that it's there. But it's no doubt that they're light years ahead of 2017, 2018 season. But from an offensive standpoint, do you have limitations is the question. You had limitations with that team. Let me ask you this. Who was getting their bucket? Who was creating their own shot on that team? The answer is nobody. Well, now look at this team. Who's creating their own shot? Is it Seth Curry? I think Seth Curry can do it, but if I'm telling you, hey, you're down the stretch in the playoffs, you need a bucket getter, Seth Curry is not to that level of, hey, we're in a playoff moment, let's go, fellas. Now, you want that to be Joel Embiid. You want that to eventually be Ben Simmons, but we all know the major flaw. So will there be offensive limitations when it matters most? Now let's get to what Doc Rivers said, because I know it's a hot topic and it is not being, well, it's definitely being criticized and destroyed a lot. Doc Rivers claimed that this isn't the first time that he doesn't care about Ben Simmons shooting. From day one, and I know I've even brought this up previously when he was going through a lot of his early press conferences, Doc Rivers brought up he cares about team efficiency, team offense efficiency. It's about the team. If the team is where he wants it to be from a points per game standpoint and from getting good looks, that's all he cares about. He doesn't matter who, he doesn't matter how, he doesn't matter what. Like, he doesn't care about that stuff. It doesn't matter to him. He only cares about how it looks from a team standpoint number. So if Ben Simmons is getting these looks for his teammates, if he's utilizing the spacing on the floor, he already was tremendous at passing the three-pointers in the past with a team, specifically last year, that couldn't do it. They could not space the floor and shoot threes. They tried to. They did not have the proper personnel. But Ben Simmons, with his game, did it at an insanely efficient level. Now, add this. Add a roster that makes sense. Him not shooting, will it benefit the offensive efficiency? The answer is yes. Yes, it will. So is Doc not going to stress, Ben, you got to shoot enough? And I think that's so funny because one of the big discussions earlier when Brett Brown was about to get canned was accountability. Josh Richardson says accountability. Everyone follows with accountability. Okay, fine. I'm clearly acknowledging the Brett Brown era ended at the right time. You need to make that move. No doubt about it. Pretty damn simple. But Doc Rivers, there were people who hated Brett Brown so much that one of the reasons why they wanted him gone was because he didn't force Ben Simmons to shoot enough. He didn't make Ben Simmons shoot. Well, here's the coach openly saying, hold on a second, I don't care about that as long as the team succeeds. From team stats standpoint, I don't think that's going to sit well. I really don't. You're going to see flaws with Doc Rivers. And I'm not saying he's perfect, and no one should. I really hope you're not expecting that. I think you can clearly be excited because of who he is, his background, his personality, his message, his power in terms of when people look at him, he sends a different message. That's clear. But there's flaws throughout. There's this bonkers story going around The Athletic on what the hell happened in L.A. You got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard pretty much running the team, doing whatever they want. Accountability is a major word that I heard with the Brett Brown era. Well, you didn't have any, and I mean none. You had none in L.A. Did Doc Rivers learn from that mistake? Well, it's very possible. I think he's a smart individual. He's only going to learn from the failures that happened there with Kawhi and then realize, hold on a second, we can't give Ben and Joel that type of freedom. Although, they're not even on the same page as Kawhi Leonard. Paul George is sort of a fraud, in my opinion, so I don't know where to really stack him up against Ben and Joel because I don't think those two are frauds. I think Paul George is a fraud. But they're not even on the same level as Kawhi Leonard. But I want to bring up this, since we're on the topic. Paul George was on a podcast. What is the name of the podcast? All the Smoke. And he discussed Doc Rivers and how he was used.
And then, the way I was being used, I felt like I was, Doc was trying to play me as like a Ray Allen or like a JJ Redick, like all pin downs, all like, I can do it, but that ain't my game. Right. Like, you know what I mean? I need some flow. I need some mixes of pick and rolls. I need some post-ups.
All that.
Just different touches, you know what I mean? And so it was just, that last season was just hard overall.
Now, he continues and discusses a lot more about that team, how when they were in the playoffs and they were up 3-1, they would lose a game. They thought, okay, we'll just come back. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. We'll go back on the floor and it'll happen. Didn't happen. Then they lost that one. They got nervous. They kept losing. They thought, though, throughout, hey, we're just going to do this. We're just going to find a way eventually because, well, look at the Clippers. We are a better team. We'll beat the Denver Nuggets. And they fell flat on their face. They got embarrassed, and it was an ugly exit for them. But if you hear the way he talks, and look, this is one guy's perspective on it. And I'm not sitting here claiming that Paul George and Doc Rivers had the best of relationships. So with that being a factor, I'm sure he can talk to somebody else. Sort of like if you talk to Jimmy Butler about Brett Brown, you'll get a different opinion than when J.J. Redick speaks about Brett Brown and how he is as a head coach. So this is one man's opinion, but if you hear how he talks about the way that he was used by Doc Rivers, and then you talk about how they just assumed, hey, we'll win this series. Then he went in on how they had no practices throughout the year, which is common. You don't have that much time to practice in an NBA season. You're hitting the road, you're on the plane, you got a game, you got back-to-backs. It's not like these guys run practices all the time. That's pretty standard in pro sports. But when you assemble a new team, how else are you going to find your rhythm, find your identity when things get tough? You just have to force it out through 82 games? Well, I think as a coach, you got to come together. And I don't want to make this seem anti-Doc Rivers. I am thrilled with the hire, but I know what the end result was during the back half of that Brett Brown conversation of this locker room, how he handled things, player coach. Not only that, the X's and O's and scheme side of things piss people off a lot of times. Doc Rivers is getting criticized for the way he handled playoff moments, how he handled accountability, how he handled the X's and O's in strategy. I'm not knocking the hire. I love the hire. I need to stress that enough. But I'm going to hold people accountable for feeling the same way about some of the things Doc Rivers does, and compare that to how they felt about Brett Brown doing similar things when it comes to maybe not being the best version of themselves at times. That's all. Just trying to keep it 100. If you're going to be pissed about certain things that don't work for Brett Brown, well, if there's similar flaws in Doc Rivers, I want to hear the same pain. I want to hear the same screaming. I don't know if you're going to get that. I feel people might be hypocritical, but we'll see. We'll see when the time comes. I'm just trying to keep the message 100. That's all I do here. Now, we did get sidetracked from the actual questions that were asked during this article with Derek Bodner and Rich Hoffman of The Athletic. So, yeah, with the 17-18 roster, I just wonder, are you getting a limited offensive roster? Who's going to be that guy? You really hope it's Joel Embiid. And it's going to be a lot harder to double-team guys because you will have more depth and more shooting and more all-around players that make sense with this team. So it's not as easy to double-team Joel, although you're not going to let their best weapon get the ball where he wants on the floor, this being Joel Embiid. If you're another team, you're not going to allow their best guy to operate wherever he wants one-on-one in the post with someone unless you feel very comfortable with your matchup, which is a very, very limited amount of options, may I add. You're going to force him to get the ball out for someone else, which could benefit you, no doubt, if you get a wide-open three from someone who can knock down three from, say, 45%, Seth Curry. But all around, I don't know if you have that guy, and you need that guy. That resulted that season in a 4-1 series loss to the Boston Celtics. Embiid went to the bench. Who did you have? Well, that's been a hot topic for a long damn time. And that brings up question number 2. Can Dwight Howard repeat his success? And I do sense, originally, my first initial reaction was, okay, I don't love, I don't hate, I like. Low risk, high reward. Not crazy about it. Not super pumped about it either. But then I heard him speak. And I heard how he really felt about this team. And I think that there's only so much you could take out of press conferences. But you heard what he did with LA when it comes to his ego and putting his ego aside and realizing where he is now in his career. And he's not coming here to take over Joel Embiid's spot. He is committed to bringing that professionalism to the bench. And I do fear that if things don't run as smoothly as it did with LeBron James, maybe things get ugly. He has a background. Now, it does seem like he turned the page, but he does have a weird personality. He's not loved by everybody in the NBA. He does have this personality that is questioned at times. So if things go south, if there's not a presence like LeBron James in the locker room, will it be as solid as it was? And I think that's a very fair question. But if he gives you that production, that is huge, absolutely monstrous to have someone that can hold his own for a limited amount of time when Embiid gets to the bench. And I know instantly people think about the regular season side of things, which, yes, regular season basketball does have some sort of impact on everything because you can get your seeding. So it does matter to an extent because seeding matters, although in 2020, without fans in the stadium, does it matter as much? The answer is no. But during regular times, when this isn't our life, it is huge to win regular season games because you want to get that first, second seed. Those teams statistically have a way better chance of making their way through the first 3 rounds to get to the NBA Finals. At the same time, though, I am strictly valuing what we see in postseason ball. And I'm thinking about those 12 minutes that Embiid is on the bench and he's parked and he's getting a breather. Parked on the bench, waiting to come back in. Can you have a serviceable option? And if Dwight Howard brings that intensity, brings that toughness to this team with the rim protecting, maybe throw some lobs to him, now we're talking. And I did want to hit on one more point about Doc mentioning Ben Simmons not shooting. I've been stressing postseason ball for a little bit now this podcast. I think his opinion will change when he realizes the spacing is a major problem. Now, it's better this season, but Ben Simmons in half-court sets, when the game is slowed down to this wild degree, it's going to cause a lot of problems. You got to get this guy shooting at some point. Unless Doc is going with a whole entire new mentality and a new idea of, let me just work my way into this one. I'll start out easy. I'll start out publicly saying, hey, look, we don't need you to shoot. I'm not going to put pressure on you. But behind closed doors, maybe there's a different tone in the topic. Yo, Ben, look, to the media, I'm telling them this, but you got to get going. You got to get going. I'll put you in comfortable spots. We'll utilize the picking and the pick and roll game more. Although, look, if you're defending Ben Simmons, what do you do on a pick and roll? You back the hell off. You do. You force the guy to shoot. So the option will be there, I guess, if you want to look at it from a coaching standpoint. Ben, it'll be there. The opportunity will be there. Just take it. Maybe behind closed doors it's a little tougher, but to the media, to the fans, he's going with a simple approach because he doesn't want to step and be harsh so early on. But is that what it's going to take to get the job done? If you came in full throttle, ready to cut the throat, answer the question like this, yeah, Ben Simmons is going to shoot. Does that raise the awareness more for Ben Simmons? Like, oh, shit, I got to do it. I got to do it. It's a tricky situation. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Because if I'm Ben Simmons in that situation, I'm going, hey, guess what? Screw you. I'm not doing it. You know? So it's wild. I know I'm all over the place a bit, but I'm having fun. I'm having fun thinking of these Sixers questions because I just, I need a deep breath. That's all. I need a deep breath. And this is a good time, by the way, to tell you about my friends at DraftKings. DraftKings has brought their expertise to legal sports betting. It's a legitimate sports book. Based right here in the U.S., so you can rest assured your funds are totally secure. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is safe, reliable, and secure. Deposit and withdraw at your convenience. Listen to this new deal. It is insane. All new users have a chance to earn a sign-up bonus up to $1,000. Download the app and sign up using promo code BROADS. Check out all that they have to offer, including player props, live betting, and so much more. If sportsbooks are not yet available in your state, don't forget about the DraftKings Fantasy app, which offers millions of dollars in total prizes every single week. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Question number 3. Does Mike Scott have a big role? If you look at this lineup and you look at this rotation, who can play the 4? Well, Ben Simmons can play the 4, no doubt about it. Tobias Harris can play the 4. Other than that, what do you have? I saw these goofy conversations about Embiid and Dwight Howard playing next to each other, and you saw the Toronto Raptors go big against the Sixers before, where they went with Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and they went with the 2 twin towers. It was hard to get by them. Is there a scenario maybe in the postseason due to matchups where that could possibly be a thing? Maybe. But if we're talking about regularly with these 72 games, I feel Mike Scott can have a big role based off of this guy can play the 4. And look, we're talking about Dwight Howard playing when Joel Embiid is out. If there's a matchup that works better for you with Mike Scott at the 5, you've seen that happen over the last handful of seasons where you went extremely small, you went small ball, you lacked size, but you got some game out of Mike Scott who can stretch the floor. Dwight Howard can't stretch the floor at all. It's not like he's popping three-pointers. Actually, if you look at this, 188 of 202 shots were within 5 feet for Dwight Howard. So if you want an option where you go smaller, you stretch out the court even more, can Mike Scott play your 5? And that actually transitions right into another part of the article with another question. Does Dwight Howard get in the way of Simmons-led lineups? Because you already have some players on this team that lack the spacing ability. Matisse Thybulle, I really want him to take that next step. I can't wait to see him blossom as a defender and get even better in that area that he's already strong at. But adding more of an efficient three-point shooting game would only allow him to be on the floor more. But let's say you have Simmons on the court and Joel Embiid's on the bench, so you have Dwight Howard out there at the 5. Those two alone give you a ton of issues with shooting the basketball from deep. Now you have Matisse Thybulle, you have Ferguson. Those are other guys that can't stretch the floor out to a serious degree. You're limited in options, if you see where I'm getting at here. You're very limited in what you can do from a rotation standpoint there. And I can't imagine many times where you want to go Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid both off of the floor at the same time. So with that being said, are you limited in certain areas? Danny Green, Seth Curry, Furkan Korkmaz, Shake Milton. And by the way, Doc Rivers was very high on Shake Milton. And I just wonder, did he see that game in LA and think, wow, this is who the kid is? I like Shake Milton. I think his skill set is there. He has the tools. Let's say that. He has the tools to grow and blossom into a nice player in the NBA. I'm not saying star. I'm not saying elite. I'm not saying an all-star. But a nice player in this league. He's so damn raw, though. And Doc Rivers saw him at his best, which is fine. That shows that it's in there. The ability to get there is in Shake Milton. Can you pull it out of him? That's a fair question, no doubt. It's nice to know if that's his ceiling, that, wow, there's something there. I just look at Shake Milton, and I feel he's so raw. He has the IQ. He has the set of skills that can be a factor. But I just don't know if he's there yet. Now, he put on weight. He gained some pounds, which will help him in a grown man's league. But I'm curious to see how he does develop and what he does moving forward under the Doc Rivers regime and with this whole entire new assistant coaching staff. I know they're putting a lot of pressure on him, though, to be that guy off the bench. And I see a lot of comparisons. Oh, we can be Lou Will. Lou Will is an established 6-man. This dude wins 6-man of the year nonstop. He's a walking bucket. Shake Milton, I don't see Lou Will in Shake Milton. And that's not necessarily a knock on Shake or a shot at him. That's fine. He doesn't need to be Lou Will. He could be his own version of his NBA self. But I just look at him and I think he's got so much to learn. And the only way for him to do that is play. I get it. I do. I recognize that. I want him to get time. And this ties to what Daryl Morey said when he first got here. You don't walk in day one and have your completed roster. You don't walk in day one and boom, here you go. You got to get into the lab, as Doc Rivers likes to say. And that makes sense, right? You got to learn your team. You got to feel them out. You got to realize this works, this doesn't work. Let's try these. Let's go with this combination. All right, this had flow. This didn't. It's a work in progress. Your regular season play is okay. How do we figure out what can possibly work when games intensify and when games slow down? I'm just not ready to go full throttle Shake Milton yet, but you might see that. And then maybe I'm proven wrong, and that's fine. I'm okay. I want to be wrong here. I want Shake to grow into this awesome player, bang, right from the jump. I just don't know if it's going to happen right from the jump. It's a work in progress. I think it's more of a couple years kind of thing. And with Tyrese Maxey, could Tyrese Maxey have a role from the start? I think he's going to get thrown into the fire, sure. He can bring a lot of versatility to the table. With the ball in his hands, he's very unique. Can get to the rim. He can bring you a lot from both sides of the floor. Now, he'll have to learn the hard way when it comes to defense, but he's willing. If you're not willing, you're screwed. If you're willing, all right, you got something. If you're willing, it'll happen. You just got to learn the ins and outs of defending these type of athletes. It's different. This isn't Kentucky. This isn't the SEC. You're not going up against some of these college players. This is a whole nother level. Imagine going from 18, 19, 20-year-olds to 33-year-old men. I'm just thinking of a funny scenario. Let's say in practice, Tyrese Maxey gets a switch on Dwight Howard. Or not even a switch on Dwight Howard, because obviously he can use his speed and his quickness to blow by him. But let's say he blows by his opponent. Dwight Howard's in the paint, ready to go up and block a shot. And they both go up. There's contact drawn. A 30-plus-year-old grown man at that size. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. But I think that just like Shake Milton, give him some time. Give him the ball in his hands. Let him play. Let him operate in space. Let him feel it out. I don't know, though, if he's going to be anything serious right away. You're going to have to let this kid kind of go out there and experience this thing and see what happens from there. You do get guys, though, every year that you don't anticipate being a stud, and they become a stud. And if there's someone that you can choose, or if there's someone that, not really you could choose, that was a little silly, but if there's someone that you could see it happening to, well, things add up to saying this sure can happen to Tyrese Maxey. I know I just said Kentucky's not the NBA. It's not, but it's a very high-profiled organization, college program. And a lot of scouts said, hold on a second, this dude fell how far? This guy fell to the Sixers? Whoa. We projected him to be top 10. There's plenty of scouts and plenty of college basketball minds and NBA minds that really value Tyrese Maxey to a whole nother level. Maybe it's him who steps up and, what? He's giving you 18 points per game? He's giving you 15 points per game? What is going on? Now, I'm not someone who will believe that to happen until I see it. I'm just throwing out scenarios because I want to look at all the hypotheticals out there. So, sure, it can happen, but I'm not one to believe that until I see it. Sort of like, I feel I'm in the minority. There's a lot of people ready to go when it comes to this team significantly winning. I don't know if I'm there yet, and I need to see it before I believe it. Are they trending in the right direction? Clearly. But to imagine that what we went through is already fixed in one offseason, that is not the case. It's a work in progress. There's a lot that you got to figure out. All right, so another question. How will Seth Curry be used? More like a J.J. Redick? Will he be in the starting rotation? Well, we know that Doc Rivers is going to implement more pick and rolls. And we've seen Seth Curry in the pick and roll game, and I think he can bring a lot of that to this team when it comes to ball handling. I'm really intrigued by Seth Curry and what he can do. The not really point guard, but the secondary ball handling option that he brings is such a different dynamic to this team. And when you think of pick and roll play in general with this team, you're going to see a different identity where you saw a lot of dribble handoffs with J.J. Redick and Joel Embiid. And to be fair, it was effective. It worked. At times it got drilled in too heavily, but when it was working to an elite level because you have a pro's pro in J.J. who can find ways to get open, even though he's a very small guy, how active he was and how much he was running around, tiring out defenders all the time, running around Joel Embiid. He was so effective at finding space throughout that motion where he was clearly efficient. You're going to see, I would imagine, a different style of that. You won't see dribble handoffs like you did with Embiid and J.J. Redick, but you'll see Seth Curry implemented with the pick and roll play, getting 3-point looks and getting looks off of that. Will you see some mixed? I'm sure you'll see some mixed in there. Doc Rivers said he did see some actions that he liked out of Brett Brown's system that he might use as well. He said, look, there were some things I liked that they ran, so maybe he uses that. That's all. I think it's very possible. I'm sure many coaches do that. They look at what the last coach did with those players, what worked, what didn't work. Look at how their scheme can be impacted with some of those pros and some of those cons. No doubt about it. I can't believe, though, that the national media games, the 76ers are not a part of. They're not on Christmas Day. How are they not on Christmas Day? My Christmas operates, and it is surrounded off of when I'm watching the 76ers and when I'm dissecting their play. I'm hurt. I'm really hurt. Now, when you look at the lineup, yeah, all the other games, they make sense, but I feel they could have slipped into that noon matchup against the Miami Heat. I know Zion is a player that people want to watch, but this is Philadelphia. This is Ben and Joel, and I'll tie this to the NFC East because there's so many people out there that look at the NFC East and they say, why do any of these teams deserve a playoff spot? And I'll tell you, for one, they won the division and that's the rules, but for two, the New York Giants, the market's huge. If they make the postseason with 6 wins or 5 wins, you're getting blown out with obnoxiously great ratings. Same with Dallas, not only by the Dallas market, but by all the fraud Dallas fans around the country and for everyone rooting against them, which is everybody outside of that fraud fandom. And with the Eagles, we're screaming and pissed off at them every single day, but if they're in the playoffs, are you kidding me? Ratings are there. So when I look at this team, while they might not be 1 or 2 in the East, okay, or they might not be like the Lakers or Giannis and Greek Freak. They're the same person. I don't know why I just said "and" as if they're not the same person. But like the Milwaukee Bucks, they're a team that people want to see. And they got left off that schedule, and they also got left off of the first 2 national media games. What is going on? Now, if you're in that locker room, do you take that as motivation? It might seem silly, but at the same time, what are we, not must watch? Absolutely, you're must watch. Ben Simmons moves the needle, and Embiid moves the needle with that personality. Hell, Doc Rivers moves the needle. Everything surrounding this organization is popping for NBA fans. Zion moves the needle too, but I think you can get away from New Orleans and put on a Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat team against the Sixers. Let alone those 2 teams and how much that speaks for itself. But let's tie the storylines of Jimmy Butler already being here. The drama. I'm stunned. New Orleans? I'm a little pissed off. Pissed. It might sound silly, but there's value in that from a team standpoint. You're getting disrespected right from the jump. Now, I hate when the Eagles pull the underdog card, don't get me wrong. I'd rather my team know they're good and accomplish great things with all the pressure, knowing there's a lot of hype. Deliver. It's hard to do it, but great teams do it. I'd rather it be that way than be the underdog story. But I do think that, well, the Sixers and the Eagles are in 2 different spots in their franchise. Now with this new, fresh regime with Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers, the coaching staff, to have a roster that now makes sense and to be moving in the right direction, you'd think there'd still be a little bit of pop surrounding them. To not have any is embarrassing. With the Eagles, they try and pull this nonsense every year. We're great. Uh-oh, we're failing. Oh, no, we're 4-6. Oh, no, we're 5-7. Let's rally back. Rah, rah. No. 2 different circumstances. But that's what I have for you today. Before we end the show, this episode, as always, is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, they're home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. Their solar program eliminates your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, they will make sure that you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Check out all their information. It's down below. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.